is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were all meant to shine as children. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
This morning I'm thrilled to have Chris Mast bring a word to us. This last week, Chris was in with the Mennonite women learning to quilt. On Monday, he used to go with the junior high on a little service trip. And today, he's bringing a word. He is a man who is doing all kinds of stuff. Dealing with all kinds of fears. But he's stepping up. And as a summer intern, he is experiencing ministry, the full spectrum of ministry. So we just want to bless him as he brings a word to us. Father, thank you so much for Chris and doing this. And now I pray, Lord, that you would use him in mighty ways to speak your word. We thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, going on here? All right. It's good to see everyone here this morning. I figured before we started in to see what Abraham has to teach us about here today, we'd do another quick prayer. Dear Lord, just thank you for everyone's ability to be here this morning. Just ask that everything done and said here this morning be used to glorify your name. Amen. All right, well, last week, if you were here, or if you weren't here, Todd spoke about the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the sin that was present there. This week, we're going to go back to Abraham and see what he has to teach us about fear. All right? So, I think it's worth mentioning, first of all, that, I was a little hesitant at first to do this whole sermon thing. Todd told me, just go ahead and take a look at Genesis 20, see what it's all about, and get back to me. And I don't know if it was his doing or his doing, but I went and looked at it, and it's on fear, the main topic. How do you not do a sermon on fear for reason of fear? So for that reason, and just for the fact being, I didn't want to be, Todd's main topic in his speech on fear. I decided, here we are today. Let's go ahead and open our Bibles up to Genesis 20, and we'll get started here. So I'll give you a little time to do that. If you don't have a Bible, there are Bibles at the end of the rows, and if you don't have a Bible at home, you can go ahead and take that home. Okay, so what kind of fears are we going to be talking about today? Because obviously there are many different types of fears. What I don't necessarily want to talk about today is, curing anyone's fear from things like snakes or spiders or anything like that. These things are scary for a reason. They're hairy. They have no legs or many legs. I'm not sure which is worse. They bite. So point being, I'm not concerned about the things that we're afraid of. Fear is a natural thing in humans, implanted us by God. What I do want to talk about today is the fear that keeps us from fulfilling what God has in store for our lives. Abraham was a great man of faith. He left his homeland to be the father of all nations. He followed God, all his entire life. Left his father's household to follow God. But even Abraham, as we see today, had fears. And as we'll revisit the fears that he has earlier in his life too. So here we are, Genesis 20. First point up top, fear causes fibs. I don't know if that's coming up or not. Fear causes fibs. Verse 1 and 2 of chapter 20. We get here. Alright, now Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said to his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Alright, so last week, Sodom and Gomorrah, not last week, it was destroyed, but we talked about it being destroyed last week. And when it was destroyed, Abraham actually lived in a city above Sodom and Gomorrah. And we're not sure if, it's because he lived up there, he didn't want to look down at the destruction, but he decides to move. Okay? Maybe it reminded him of the judgment there. But he decides to pick up his things, his family, everything he owns, and move to the Negev. But he's worried about this region because of the king who's there, King of Mennonite. And it was kind of something that was done in that day that if if you're a powerful person or you had an attractive wife, the king would kill you so that he could take that wife. And so this is what Abraham fears today. So what he does is, he tells them that Sarah is his sister instead of his wife, and the king takes him. Lying starts when, we start to lie to ourselves. When I begin to think about, my Christian journey myself, I begin to, find some parallels to this. This kind of lying to myself, and I feel like it kind of began, although for good intentions, when I was around, 13 or 14, I decided to get baptized. There was fears there. Although like I believed in it, and now I'm glad I'm happy to be baptized. I was afraid, what do other people think of me if I'm not baptized by a certain age? What are people in the church going to think if I'm not baptized, by the time I'm 20, or by the time I finally figure it all out? And I was afraid of, where am I going to go when I die? I didn't know much about it at the time, but I knew, you can't eat snow cones there. You can't build snowmen. So there's things I know about this place, but, some of the things I love most aren't going to happen there. But like I said, I had good intentions at the time. I didn't really question my faith at that time, nor for several years after that. But when I became probably about a junior in high school, I started to have a lot of doubts about God. Okay? And it probably lasted 3 or 4 years until I was a sophomore in college. And the most difficult time in my entire life. It's a very depressing time. You grow up in the church, you see all those people that love God, believe in God, you do your whole life, and then you start to question it. And moving on to college and everything, and having everyone else's doubts. It wasn't just my own doubts around me, but hearing other people's doubts too. I feel like it was too much for me. And I started to question God rather than seek Him out. And it got to the point where I feel like I was trying to disprove God rather than prove Him. And that's where I got in trouble. And I think I lied to myself. I had so many fears. I told myself, you're not ever going to figure it out. You're never going to, be able to get all the facts that you need to have that 100% faith. Because that was the main thing for me. I didn't feel like I was ever going to be able to have that faith that I needed to be able to, share it with other people. How do I share my Christian faith with other people if I don't believe it 100% myself? How do I show this love to other people if I don't feel it, if I haven't seen it? Okay, and I was afraid, am I going to have fun if I'm a Christian? Or I see all my friends doing all these other things, am I going to be missing out on things? I was afraid that, God wasn't who I wanted him to be. He wasn't going to be the person that, I was making him with someone that I wanted him to be rather than, following after him. And it wasn't until I picked up a book at the bookstore on Vernon called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. And I just saw it on a shelf there at the bookstore and got it. And I started reading it. And what it did for me, it gave me a lot of facts on God. It gave me, it's not this, 100% faith, just throw it out there and believe in something. It's something that there's facts for. And what it taught me was that whether you believe in no God, whether you believe in many gods, whether you believe that you'll never figure anything out, you're having faith in that. Okay, so, if I'm going to believe that there's no God out there, I'm having faith that, no one created this world. Okay, so this 100% faith I'm putting something in, I found through the facts I was looking at, and through my feelings, and talking to other people, that this was something I wanted to have. Christianity is something that I can put my faith in. Whether it's 100% at the time, it's, maybe not, but if it's something I'm seeking, and something I believe in, and that's what's important. And so that's why I've been the last couple of years, and it's been an incredible journey so far. I told myself, I was so depressed that I was just like, if I can ever get out of this, I want to tell other people about it. I want to, help other people that are going through the same things, because it's, the worst thing. I don't feel like you have a purpose. What is there? And so I guess that's why I'm here today, a year or two later. So, these fears stem from fears of mine at the time, as well as just, the natural, desire of humans to figure out, what is this existence on earth? What are we chasing after? Let's go ahead and look at the next part. Fear creates fractures. Let's go ahead and read verses 3 through 10.